So, hello everyone. My name is ToolSin. Welcome to the CNFT.tools Discord server. I'm here with a project called Orangutans Academy, which is looking to bring some decentralized education to Cardano. So, I'm joined by Jersey Mike and Shartoshi Eth. And yeah, if you guys would like to introduce yourselves.
Hi, my name's Jersey Mike. I'm the community manager for Orangutans Academy, and I'm super excited to give you guys some information about this project.
Yep, I'm Shartoshi. Everyone that's my friend calls me Dante. That's my real name. So feel free to call me either or. I'm strategy and development over at the Orangutans Academy. So I kind of help plan the vision and what we're doing over there, and kind of like that relationship between the community managers, the community, and making sure like the devs know what the community's looking for, and then relaying that back over to the community managers in the community.
Cool. So, give us a 10-second rundown of what the academy is going to be about.
Oh, impossible. 10 seconds, that's hard. Oh geez. Okay, let me think of some bullet points just off the top of my head, to try and encapsulate everything in 10 seconds. Okay, so we got Unreal Engine 5 built for speaker events. We're trying to build um, the Udemy of Web3, and then we're trying to create a decentralized publishing board. So in 10 seconds, which I could dive
Yeah, I mean
deeply for like a half
that.
hour into each one, that's pretty much what we're trying to accomplish.
So yeah, that's. I'm sure we'll get into the nitty gritty of all that as we progress through the AMA. Just so everyone knows, if you've got any questions, feel free to type them into NFT chat, and we'll be monitoring that, and we'll make sure the team get a chance to answer all the questions. So let's take it back to the start. What got you guys into NFTs and crypto, and what brought you to the point where you're thinking, okay, let's do an NFT project with whatever it is you got, with however as far as you got at that point.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I've been in crypto and NFTs for a while now. I think all the way back into 2017 was when I got into crypto, and then very shortly after, I was playing around with NFTs during the CryptoKitty era, back in like 2018. And at that point, it was just like fun. Like I just thought it was like an interesting thing that I could do something with my ETH with. Um, and then like I always stayed in crypto, but kind of stayed out of NFTs, like from a serious standpoint of creating my own project or anything like that. Like I'd collect here and there, just for like fun, but I never really thought of it as like an investment too much. And then until it came around to like the Bored Ape era, where people started coming around with like real projects, roadmaps, and trying to like essentially use NFTs as funding. And that's when I got very, very interested in the space. And there's plenty of people on my team that we have like an 8-person team, that have a similar style background. So we've come from ETH. I've been over in the Solana communities as well. But for this project specifically, I got into CNFTs about 7 months ago, I believe.
Okay,
I hold Goat Tribe and Pavia,
nice.
and this was all before like Cardano had smart contracts enabled, so you got to log in and everything. Um, but like I've always liked the Cardano vision, that Charles has had, and something that I appreciated so much about like the way the Cardano community moves is the culture is much more baked into the scientific method, like taking the approach of like making sure everything is done properly, even if it takes a little bit longer to do. Because like have we as we've seen over the past like year or two, all these layer one blockchains are kind of just sacrificing decentralization for essentially efficiency, and that's not really the whole point of blockchain technology. And you got a lot of people new coming into the space that don't really understand anything about crypto or blockchain, but are kind of being abused by the people that do in those layer ones that are just like all about centralization, and more so pulling the liquidity out of the market. on those blockchains. So this style of project, I think, really drove us to Cardano because we really wanted it to be baked in utility in the sense that like we know that Web3 and decentralization is here to stay. Like I've been super confident about it for a long time. Um, and the Cardano community kind of appreciates that, like that methodical approach to things. So when we thought about like, hey, like what has Web3 not really accomplished too strongly yet, which is super valuable, is education. And obviously you can find tons of free education all over the internet, and you can use Web2 platforms like Udemy and Coursera, which are fantastic platforms. But not everybody also has access to those platforms, as well as the biggest flaw that we've found within those platforms is, if you're in a first world country, you can have a college degree and then want to change course and use something like Coursera to kind of help yourself proceed into a new field. But you really don't have a community or anything that's kind of tying you together, like you have seen in the NFT space. So in the NFT space, we've really seen these really, really strong communities, and even some of them are really strong, baked into kind of just a strong profile picture. So we were like, you know what, like education is so much more than just like sitting down reading books and learning. It's also like having a very strong network base. It's having a strong community base. And that's something I think NFTs does better than anything else. And considering the methodical approach like we were talking about for Cardano, we felt like this would be the perfect chain to launch this on. So that's when we started getting talking about like, okay, we wanted to bring education to Web3 more so. How are we going to do it? Let's think NFT projects, great marketing tool, get community building, but what are we really here to offer? So going back to the three bullet points that I listed right in the beginning of this talk, is first thing is we want it to be fun, interactive. That's why we have developers that are using Unreal Engine 5 to have a virtual stage. So essentially to kick it off in the beginning is we're trying to curate as many professionals, professors, experts, whatever it may be in their field of interest, to come and do speaker events at our academy. And the cool thing about with using Unreal Engine 5 is that like we want the speaker to actually be an orangutan. So he'll have his webcam on and essentially be talking, doing hand gestures. And if you're sitting in the audience, you'll see an orangutan giving a presentation. Obviously, you'll know who it is because we'll be marketing and branding every time a person is coming up to give speaker events. But that's just one of our branding points. And so we're curating it right now as a team from those professionals, but also as we grow, we want community members to give speaker events if they feel strongly enough in a topic that they want to give. And then we also want the community curating speakers themselves as well. So that's one point. The next point that I think is really, really strong that we're trying to move into is something that we like to give back to the community, essentially, is when we launch our course platforms. We obviously want people to know what they're talking about, but also we want members from our community, they want to launch courses to be able to make money doing so. So essentially the way to do this is like if you hold one of our NFTs and you do a course on pre-calculus, let's just say, or economics or whatever it may be, we as the community will help market that, and the Orangutan Academy will help market that for you. So we're essentially bringing that Coursera aspect into it where you now are receiving money for creating courses. And something we've talked about as a team is like obviously if you hold one of our NFTs, you could take any of the courses that members do for free.
Okay.
So this is like something that like it's like, oh, for the price of an NFT, I have unlimited access forever essentially until I want to sell this NFT to take as many courses that people from inside the community are creating. And obviously we're trying to curate as many people to kick that off and create courses for the Orangutan Academy. And then the third point that we want to make is creating publishing research. And like we've seen, I think over the past decade, 2 decades or so, is that we've seen a lot of like research that always gets published based on what is backing the research. So like if the research is getting funded by person X and person X believes in whatever, they'll ask, obviously, if they're funding the research, they're going to make sure the research is showing data that is already proving what they want. And we've seen that all over academia over the past decade, and it's not
Yeah.
beneficial for society. It's a very big negative for society. So something that we want to create is like our own publishing board, where if you pass a certain threshold of votes from the community, which you would vote with using your NFT, you essentially now will, like, if let's say that threshold's 50% or 60%, if it takes a 60% vote from the community that wants to publish it, the dev team won't be returning it saying that no, or like, or anything of that nature. So it's like we don't want any censorship on what gets published. We don't want to say or sway anything that gets published. We want the community to decide to read through what people are publishing. And that essentially makes everybody's NFT worth more, because obviously the more people publishing good research, the more it's a positive feedback loop, in the sense that people will look more at our academy and say, oh, they're publishing real stuff. Like, and it takes the aspect away of like, oh, this is a human that being in the first world country that has all the resources to go to college, because there's so many people that are so well educated by just reading tons and tons and tons of books, that should be able to publish research, but they don't go to college, or they don't have the means to go to college, or they're in a country that is not allowing them to go to college, or whatever it may be. We are now that access point to essentially aggregate all this information, and if the community decides that this is something that they want to get published, it will get published to our board.
Cool. Yeah. I
I know
mean,
that was a ton of
yeah,
information.
that was a much longer reply than I was expecting, but a very good one as well. So with the NFTs, you have access to all the courses created by other holders of the NFT.
Correct.
What kind of price point are you looking to offer for courses made by outside vendors?
So we want people to essentially price it how they would like to price it. Like, we want to just be that middleman for people that create courses. So if like for the course, if they want to give it to free for everybody, they are more than welcome to do so. If they want to charge $10, $100, $50, that's up to them. We are just kind of like that middleman that gives them access to potentially make money for their course. And if you hold the NFT, you don't have to pay for the course because you're already within the community.
Yeah. So what kind of percentage do you guys take to help cover your ongoing costs with all this?
For the courses,
Yes.
no, we don't take any money for the courses. Essentially, what we're trying to hope is that the royalties from owning the NFT will become something that is more so like, instead of buying a course, I'd rather buy the NFT because it gives me access to all the courses. If it's just the one person buying one course, we want to just be the middleman. Where if it's transactional fees from like a credit card or crypto, because that's also something we want to offer, is we want it to be offered in crypto and credit.
Yeah.
Whatever the transactional cost will be is what we obviously take, just to make sure we're not losing money on our end, but we don't want to take a percentage from people that are trying to sell their courses.
Yeah, that's actually pretty massive for a lot of people. It's definitely perks some ears up.
Right.
So,
And then essentially just it will, what will benefit us is like, oh, I took one course, I just see that there's 15 other courses that are interested. Maybe instead of paying for all these courses, I'll just go buy the NFT. And then it's like, okay, now we're collecting royalties from the NFT. So that's how we're trying to keep ourselves sustainable.
yeah.
Is kind of like, if you think this is interesting enough, just go buy the NFT, and make the community stronger from that aspect.
So going on that line of thought then. So how many orangutans will there be?
10,000.
And they're minting at what price and when?
We haven't decided the price yet, just because obviously we want to do it in ADA, and with the way the market's been
Yeah.
fluctuating, we kind of want to play it closer to mint date. So we're probably going to release the price in a week from now, but we are releasing the orangutans on the 26th of June.
Cool. So can you say what kind of dollar amount you're looking at, just to give people a guide of what to expect?
Yeah, so it's like, obviously, to fund the project, and like having a team of 8 people, and using like top tier technology to launch like a decentralized research publishing platform, courses, and building our Unreal Engine 5 stage. We are looking to be in around the 50 to $100 range, which we know like with a 10,000 collection could
Yeah.
be considered a little high. But we also like we want to also make sure it's sustainable for the long run. Like we're not just trying to be like nothing against like just profile picture collections or just art collections, which I think are fantastic. But we're trying to kind of really launch like a business here essentially that can like benefit a lot of people.
So does that mean that all 8 people on the team will be working on the project full time?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, I mean that's 8 people with families to feed and rent to pay and everything else.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And like we
Yeah.
know that like obviously like with the market being the way the market is, like people are kind of holding on to their whatever, whether it's ADA, ETH, Solana, Polkadot, whatever it is, kind of more tightly. But obviously, if we want to launch this project and make sure it's successful, with everybody on the team working on it the way we are, it will cost a little bit more money, for the utility that we're trying to create.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has real world applications, so it's definitely fair enough. I mean, it's, yeah. So, what kind of vetting of courses and or people that are looking to publish courses are you going to be doing for all this?
Absolutely. So that's a great question. In the beginning, we want it to be, we don't want it to be, but in the beginning, it's going to be a centralized process. So essentially, all 8 of us are using our network base to get people that we know that are working at Fortune 500 companies, professors, any experts in fields that we know of, and using that network to try and curate people to come in and give courses, give talks, publish anything that they can publish. And that's just using our own network base to essentially provide that initial value for people that are holding our NFT. But then once we feel like the community has become a more sustainable one that can, do things on its own and like it has its own brand reputation and brand image, we don't want to be the people that are dictating what gets published and what doesn't get published. And that's why we want to create a system that allows people to vote using their NFTs. Excuse me. Using their NFTs to vote on what does get published and what doesn't. Because we don't want to be like the dev team that's saying like, oh, we believe in this, but we don't really believe in that because there's a lot of topics in today's world that aren't allowed to be talked about because of X, Y, and Z, but people want to know about them. So it kind of takes also the pressure away from us if we were ever to be pressed by some entity that's like you have to stop publishing this information. It's like, well, we're just the middlemen. Like they vote on it. This is a decentralized process. We don't get to stop it now at this point. Because obviously, if we're curating the information from a centralized point in the beginning, that's great that it's adding value, but it's also dangerous in the sense that it says it's like, well, it's whatever the devs believe is what, or whatever the devs believe is cool or acceptable or whatever that may be, is the information that's getting provided to us. And obviously, the more people in our community that want to curate like a speaker from a mathematics field or an economics, mathematics you actually really can't, but let's say economics is a great example of this. Is like you can prove like you can have an economist with a PhD tell you whatever you want to hear as long as you're funding them however way you want them.
Yeah.
And so like some people tell you that Keynesian economics is like the most like it's gonna work, it's fantastic, blah 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 blah. But like obviously we're seeing a really really big issues with that right now, especially when it's not being done properly. But you can tell there's many PhDs that are saying that it's fine. So essentially, we don't want to take our beliefs and allow that to alter the information that gets published from the academy. We want the people to use their NFT to vote on what makes most sense for them. So that would mean if you're somebody with an economics degree or don't even have an economics degree but have just read a lot about economics and you want to publish research, you might have to try and do what you can do to convince the community what you believe, and if it gets past a certain vote threshold, it gets published. Um, so like it adds that extra incentive model to really be participating in the community because if you think someone's posting something that's garbage or shit posting, you obviously don't want that being published because that affects the NFT that you hold. You really want to make sure good information is published, whether that good information aligns with your opinions or doesn't align with your opinions.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's going to be some subjects out there that are going to elicit a strong emotional reaction, whether it's religion or history of certain areas or even geography in certain communities.
Absolutely.
There's obviously, issues with, ongoing geopolitical situations, not just Ukraine, but, China and other places.
Absolutely. And like we feel that like with this like academy style of what we're doing, it's like there's many people that have opinions and viewpoints from all over the world, and see things differently, have learned things differently, have been placed upon propaganda regimes. I would say most countries in the world right now are under some sort of propaganda. I'd be pretty surprised considering how the widespread media is in first world countries that there isn't some sort of propaganda that is leaked into everyone's everyday life. That it'll just sort of be that you have to at least listen or at least acknowledge that these people are posting information and research about what they believe in, and if they can prove that what they believe in is at least how do you say like valued by at least half the community or more, whatever that threshold that we set is, then at least it's something to take a look at. It's not necessarily saying it's right, it's not saying it's wrong, it's just saying the community's deciding on whether this information is valuable enough to take a look at. Um, I mean, like going back to just the original point, like we can really show data to make people believe in whatever you want them to believe at this point in history, which is an incredibly scary thing. And it's definitely being abused at this point. So we're hoping that a style of this that we're creating is essentially like, if people are going to use that data still, at least hear both sides of it. Instead of the one side that certain media structures want you to always be listening to.
Yeah, and that's to touch on the point earlier about like culture and other things that people are learning. That's what I'm the most excited about with this project, because I've always been fascinated by different languages, different cultures, and everything like that. So to have the NFT space has always been so diverse, and to have a bunch of these people and to be able to hear from them and learn from them, it's that's what it's all about, and I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, sorry, someone. I thought somebody was posting a question, but it was just some spam. So there's a few interesting questions. Um, A, do you think that 10,000 orangutans is actually going to be enough to provide with both for people purchasing the NFTs to be able to take part in more courses and for any voting requirements that you may have, especially if this blows up and it does go global, then we're talking about millions of people.
Yeah, it's actually a great question and one that we've put a lot of thought into. Um, Obviously, like I come from a startup background, and the way you want to usually curate things to blow up is essentially, create a small niche that feels really passionately about something, and then kind of let it like have a network effect by like, allowing individuals to make money from this, doing their own courses, or at minimum, at least growing their network to, branch into different careers or just learn something that they want to learn. So 10,000 was, I feel like, a pretty strong number, considering it's also kind of like it's not the norm anymore. Like I would say like 5,000 piece collections have kind of become more of a norm, but 10,000 definitely is not enough if we accomplish what we accomplish. So from there, I think what we've decided as a team, it's obviously not like set in stone yet, but I think what would be most rational is if we're growing so much that it's like it's pricing people out, because that's obviously the worst thing that could happen. It's like we're trying to create this more decentralized education platform, and next thing you know, everybody wants to be a part of it because they love it so much that our NFTs are worth thousands of dollars, which
Yeah.
obviously is not like possible for the average person to participate in now. Um, I think we would probably want to leave it up to the community to decide like how we want to move forward. Like, do we want to open up a version two that may give you access to maybe not publishing the courses, but receiving all the courses for free, and like getting everything besides making money, or something of that nature. So it's like, okay, if you're a person that's really passionate about what you're doing, research wise, it's like, okay, you buy version one. And this allows you to make courses. It allows you to publish X, Y, and Z or whatever it may be. But if not, maybe we create like a version two if it's so big that has 100,000, and those are just like for people that strictly just want to like receive the information or courses or talks or whatever that may be. But it's not something we've totally played with entirely yet, because obviously we have to be super successful first.
Yeah.
But it's a great question because obviously, if we are super successful, it's almost like going out of the out of our mission now to help people gain more information in a network base from a more reasonable price perspective.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things where, is it possible that you would do an issue of a different NFT in that case, with maybe, and either boost the OG collection perhaps a little bit, or remove something and have that as a pure education only NFT, and then the orangutan OG one gets you the voting rights perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. And like something else that could be interesting too, which I think could help spread it even more, is like let's say we launch a version 2, but those version 2s are just airdropped to version 1 people, which like we like say, hey, give this to one of your friends. Like that's the requirement. Is like don't like obviously there's no way to possibly track all that. I'm actually just thinking on my
Yeah.
feet right now. But like maybe we airdrop 2 version 2s or 10 version 2s to everybody, and it's like, hey, give these to all your friends, which essentially makes your OG worth more and then also helps the community grow as well.
That'd be cool.
That's just me thinking on my feet right now, though. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah. So another question that pops to mind is, when the community is voting on whether a course should be uploaded and displayed for purchase and everything like that. As much as there's biases and everything involved in certain subjects and everything like that, what about simply the people that don't know what they're voting on and aren't equipped to understand what's being described? For instance, like I can't vet a paper on orbital mechanics
right. Right,
randomly.
exactly.
Like, so why would, if I had an orangutan, why, there's only going to be, we're going to be lucky if there's, even two or three people that could even begin to verify its accuracy, even amongst 10,000 people.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the way we're planning on doing the voting process is if you don't vote, it's not like it's not considered in the total tally. So
Right.
it's like if you don't feel strongly about like what you just said, you don't vote, that's not taken into the total tally. So like it would have to be, let's say our threshold is 60% and we have 5 votes that say, or I'm sorry, we have 5 votes, 3 of which say yes and 2 of which would say no under that base metric. Instead of, even though we have 90 or 9,995 that didn't vote, it would just be based on the vote that it is occurred. So you would want to
Right.
participate in ones that you do know, and obviously ones that you don't know. We don't want people sitting around and voting and adjusting for like essentially something they just don't know about.
Yeah. And
Obviously,
will
there's no
will
way to
that be
stop
a
that.
hidden vote to avoid the temptation of people to click what's already been clicked?
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Will that be a hidden slash anonymous vote? Because people tend to have a habit of clicking what's already been clicked.
That's actually a great point. Um, Actually, I haven't thought about that. But that's a very, very good point. That I would definitely want to discuss with my team because that's very true. Um, Yes, that's very true. And we haven't actually discussed that yet, but that's actually something that we probably should implement.
Yeah, I mean this it's an unfortunate part of the human condition. Like we like to
Yep.
collaborate even when we don't realize it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, even so, I mean, just the other day, I think I was voting on something from one of my NFTs, and there was a 70% vote going in favor of one thing, and I didn't even really care, and I just voted for the 70%.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you don't like, it's if you feel the responsibility to vote and you don't give a shit, then you'll just go with the majority.
Yep.
Right.
Scary. But
Yeah,
even like with announcements, when there's reactions, people don't like to post a new emoji. They just want to click the one that's already there.
yeah, very much so.
So, yeah, I that makes a lot of sense.
So going back a little bit to a discussion we had earlier, it kind of popped into my mind and then popped out at the wrong time. After the sale, considering all the, crypto business going on right now, are you guys going to be converting the ADA to Fiat straight away, or are you going to be holding it in ADA?
Partly ADA, partly Fiat, because obviously we don't want to put ourselves in the situation where I don't foresee it at this point, but like it would be a real shame if like we kept it all in ADA and it dropped down to like 20 cents, 10 cents,
Yeah,
which I don't think would happen. Um, but it's just also to say that like we want to keep a lot of it in ADA because we don't want to drain the space of liquidity. Like you see it now with like a lot of projects that have launched. It's like they immediately take all this like ETH, Solana, ADA, whatever it may be, whatever chain they're on, and just immediately transferring it all to fiat, which is just draining the space of liquidity. And we're aware of that, and we don't want to drain the space of liquidity. With that being said, we also have like 8 people on the team that also have families that
yeah,
obviously need to eat. So we want to make sure that everybody has a runway for themselves to be able to work sustainably and afford the basic necessities. But also, like we believe in Cardano in the long term and don't want to drain the space of liquidity. So we'll be keeping a certain percentage. We haven't defined exactly how much we're keeping in fiat and how much we're keeping in
yeah,
ADA.
yeah.
But like,
That's information we don't need to know, but it when you have real life server costs and obviously salaries and everything like that, it's we don't want to be in a position where ADA drops to 20 cents and then all of a sudden people are struggling to pay their mortgages.
right, exactly. And I think, sadly enough, I think that's happened to so many projects over the past 3 months.
Yeah,
Is like they just kept it all in their currency, and now they're sitting around like we don't have money, not even just to further the project, but to continue doing this in general. Which is just it's really sad to see because there's obviously a lot of people that get affected by that. Obviously, besides just the devs, but the people that believed in the projects.
yeah, it's rough. It's rough, that's for sure. And unfortunately, I suspect there'll be more go the way of the warrior as well. But that's the world we live in. We can't all be successful.
Right.
Yeah. So, are you going to have ways other than Discord for the community to participate and discuss and post and whatever, or is it all going to be mainly Discord based?
For the voting process, I'm pretty sure it's not going to be on Discord. We're going to have our own system for that. We're not sure exactly how that system will look yet, but talking with the devs, that's going to be something separate. We've also been playing around with the idea to like our virtual academy and virtual speaker event space. Like that's a sort of a metaverse style. Like the term metaverse is obviously like
Yeah.
very broad, but something that we've played around with is the speaker stage is obviously some place that you engage in, but it would be really interesting to have a full academy. So it's something that we might be working together with Pavia to obviously use some of the funds that we receive from Mint to get an estate and like it backlinks to okay, this is the academy that you can go to in Pavia, but also the Pavia, like if you go to the auditorium, it links right to our quote unquote metaverse stage where you're in the audience and listening to speakers talk. So that will obviously be another way for people to interact. But and then just yeah, mainly Discord.
Okay, I say because I mean, like it's as much as it's old school. I always found that forums, like old school forums, are a very good way for people to communicate. And in a lot of ways, I find forums easier to keep up with, as it's easier to scroll back 20 pages than it is to scroll up on Discord for 2 days in an active chat.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, are you going to be looking? So what's the plan as far as like reaching out to people to perhaps provide content? I mean, are you going to be looking at maybe some of the more well-known free content sites to start with, or are you going to be reaching out directly to professors and PhDs and so on and so forth? And
We've been reaching out directly, and we've already done so. We've actually already been in talks with. I mean, within the Cardano community, it's kind of I wouldn't say easy, but it's a great place to start since people are really interested in what we're trying to build. So we've already had talks with like IOHK, the Cardano Foundation, the people over at Pavia, JPEG Store. And then obviously our personal networks, like using stuff like LinkedIn to try and get people from like past work experiences at Fortune 500 companies. And then trying to use that network as well to go back and reaching out to like professors from when we were at college, and leveraging that to also reach out to professors at colleges that we didn't even attend to, from like more well-known
yeah,
universities, because obviously the more brand image that you can bring into the space here, it helps really the brand of the academy, but also it helps the whole brand of Cardano. Um,
yeah,
so
for
like
sure.
even if we could get, like the Ethereum, like people from the Ethereum Foundation to come in and speak over here, like it's still information that I think a lot of members would enjoy listening to, and they have access to.
The way that I look at it is I've always been a very optimistic person, and I truly believe that this project could really change, the NFT space, especially in Cardano. And that's we're really trying to achieve something that hasn't been seen before and hasn't been done before. And like working with these types of people, like we were saying earlier in this conversation, it brings a lot of opportunity to people around the world, and I honestly truly think that this could be something really special. And like I said, I'm super excited for it. It's super
Yeah,
ex
yeah, I'm really excited for it. Like I love NFTs. I think they're cool. Like I'm all for like a nice profile picture and strong community. But unfortunately, like my personal viewpoint is a lot of the entire NFT space has turned into a zero-sum game of people that aren't really looking to come into the space, and people that are in the space are kind of just like dumping on other people. Which is really unfortunate. Like we see like the influencers that are getting like almost like paid off from a lot of projects, and then once they get paid off, they
Almost
just
paid
dump.
off or guaranteed every single time. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Right,
that's one of my sore subjects.
yeah, it's unfortunate. It's very toxic, and it's making more money move out of the space than move in. But like I've always said that great things are built in bear markets. And that's been throughout the case of history, and especially already throughout the case of crypto. So if we're in a bear market, that's fine by me. We're here to build, and we're here to create like some real value, beyond like a profile picture. We love the profile picture, don't get me wrong. Profile picture is great for marketing. Like, you start seeing people on your timeline on social media with all these like profile pictures, whatever it may be. You start wondering what it is. But it's usually not ever what holds the people there. So that's why we're really excited to be using like this as like a marketing tool, to also create something that's really valuable to the average person, which is education and networking.
So, do you have any speakers confirmed to come on to your stage yet? And when is that likely to become like a live thing, or are we waiting for Pavia on that one first?
Yeah, so we have a few people that we've confirmed that are not like well-known names, that are like obviously happy to come up and speak. But we're really trying our best to get like big names. So we finished up our demo, and we're releasing white paper and our wiki, and we're kind of sending that to as many people as we can with big brand names, to try and come in. But like the kind of like the people that we've already curated to come and speak are just like not really name brand people that are just from our own networks. But obviously trying to leverage that and what we're trying to build to get those people, like, the best thing I think would be Charles, obviously. Like having Charles come in and do it like a speaker event would be absolutely incredible. I think it would get everybody like very interested. So like that's kind of what we're shooting for. And even if it's not Charles, like any like really big known professor or CEO or official of some sort, that people know about, we're really shooting for, at least in the like try and get in the beginning, because obviously if we get one of those big brand names, everybody has eyes on us. Everybody's like, oh, I know this person, I know this person. They start putting us in contact, and then it kind of just opens the floodgates to like having
Yeah,
great content.
yeah, for sure. So as much as you're going to have the voting process and everything like that, is it the sort of thing where you could see where people that have already created courses elsewhere are able to then use your service to boost their own awareness and maybe offer their course in a new place?
Could you reframe the question? I'm not sure if I like kind of
So
understood
so
it.
so so let's say somebody's gone out and made a course on, I don't know, how to play poker. And then they say, well, I've got all this content, I've got my site over here doing quite nicely. Can they then bring the content over to your site and then market it there?
Yeah, so we would love that. We just want to make sure that they at least hold the NFT, to post their course. And then from there, like we need a way to track to make sure if you're obviously posting courses that you're holding the NFT still. But we need to decide whether if you're holding the NFT and you post the course and like the course is published, do you need to still hold the NFT further, or yes or no, if you want your NFT still, or your course still up on our page? I would say yes, because the incentivization is to obviously hold the NFT, and make the NFT valuable for, at which if the people see NFT is valuable, they go, what's this NFT offering? You get that by obviously having more and more people believe in the NFT and hold the NFT. So that's our idea, is to make sure that if you have your course already on Coursera or Udemy, you can already just upload it to what we have. We just want to make sure that you're holding one of our NFTs.
So if you need to hold one of the NFTs to be able to post a course, again, and especially if you have to hold it after the course is posted, there's very definitely an issue with the number of orangutans available. Um, but also, is it right for somebody who's gone out and spent time creating a course to then have to pay to even have the chance to have it listed? Which is
Yeah,
effectively what that policy would be.
yeah, I understand that point. With that also being said, like holding the orangutan, it's if you were to buy it, and your course doesn't get posted, which, like in the beginning, like when we're curating the courses, I would say would be pretty low. But even then, it's not something you buy and like can't resell. If it didn't get posted, it's like you can just list it back on the market.
Yeah, but I mean, again, it's still at least it's a deposit. It's a financial barrier to sharing the information. Is my point.
Right. Very true. Yes, that's very true. Um,
And also, if you have to hold the NFT for your course to stay live, you're capped at 10,000 courses.
Correct. Yes, for now.
Okay. So yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough then. If you're okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like we want to create like the culture of like I want to be involved, I want to be involved, I want to be involved. And if you want to be involved, it's kind of like, okay, this is the first step of that. And like if we're getting so much attention that everybody's wanting to be involved, it's not like we obviously don't want to cap people.
Yeah,
But we do want to curate that, like almost kind of like that FOMO of like, oh, this is a really interesting project. There's only 10,000 of these. I own a course over here. Maybe I'm going to curate one over here. They're marketing it to people. Everybody that's running a course is marketing it to people. Now it's like, okay, let's airdrop 100,000 tokens, NFTs, a million of them, whatever it takes to get more people involved. That makes more sense than just being like, hey, we're launching a million NFTs. Everyone would be like, oh, the supply's too high. That doesn't make any sense.
yeah,
Um, but it's something that your question is incredibly valid because if we were to sit around and be like, oh, I don't know, that's a problem. That's
yeah.
definitely a problem because we're definitely wanting to make sure that everybody that wants to have access to this is low barrier to entry to get in. So if we weren't paying attention to it all, I'd definitely say it's a problem. I think though that if we were to be in that scenario, we definitely have the interest of people that want to learn and people that don't have, you know, all the financial means necessary to be part of the current systems that place have access to at least this one.
So, going on a slightly different tack, I mean, obviously the market is what it is right now. What happens if you don't sell out in a fairly short order? Are you fine with the fact that you might sell say 5,000 and then the mint might be open for a month while you sell the other 5,000, or are
Yeah,
you
great.
prepared for those eventualities?
Great question. Yes. So something that we've already like talked about as a team, especially in this market, like you gotta plan for the worst. Like I was throwing questions at my team. I'm like, okay, what if we sell 500? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
and essentially, like our team has come to the conclusion that's like, yeah, like we're if we sell 500, 1,000, 5,000, whatever it may be, we're okay with leaving the mint open and still marketing it. But we want to start building once our mint is open, we want to start building stuff. And I think that'll be a lot of value in the sense of like, hey, these guys sold 2,000, 3,000, and they just released their virtual stage, and this person is coming on. Maybe I want to get another one, which obviously will help us from a team perspective because that will give us more money to continue doing what we're doing. I think obviously if we're on the state of we sell like 100 of them, we might be in like a really big problem. I obviously hope we aren't in that state. But if we already talked about if as long as we're over a few hundred to 1,000, like we're just gonna start working on. I mean, we've already started working, but
yeah,
like the virtual stage, I don't know if you've seen any of the posts we made, but you can already see like the modeling of it and everything like that, and like the orangutan walk-in. So we've already started working. We don't want to stop working. We really want this project to be successful, and we think that if in that scenario we don't sell out immediately, we're okay with continuing the sale to be open and just making sure what we say we want to build is built.
yeah. I mean, it's certainly a big challenge that you guys are taking on. There's going to be many facets, and I hope that you get in the position where you're able to grow the team to be able to take advantage of everything, because it's going to be quite something if you're able to pull it off.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's why we have a big team too. It's like we definitely didn't want to go into this with like a 3, 4 person team, which obviously makes it a little bit harder because we have to charge more money. But also at the end of the day, if it's going to be a successful project, it's definitely more likely to be successful when there's 8 people working on this.
Yeah, I mean, like, so you were saying earlier about reaching out to different colleges. I do. I mean, I've not heard anything for a while, but I do know that Harvard and the big one beginning with a C,
Cornell.
Cornell, yeah, they were getting involved a few years ago in providing free courses online in a couple of different places. And there's been a definite movement from certainly some like Ivy League places to have more content available for free. So I just want to throw that out there that perhaps that you might well get a better response from those guys than you're expecting.
Yeah, and the fantastic thing is about those universities doing this. I've even taken courses from MIT,
Yeah,
like in economics department, because they've just published like if you want their homework, if you want their tests, if you want their lectures, like it's there for free, which is fantastic. And I think they would be very open to an idea like this because of the one like what we said in the beginning. It's like I loved all those courses I've taken and I think they're super useful, but I never had really anybody to talk about them with. Or if I was struggling with something, it was kind of like, oh, rewatch the lecture, just skip it and go on to the
yeah,
next topic. Whereas as this will be kind of that bridge to make sure like if you're getting educated on something, you also have a really strong community backing it up. Um, which is also something that we didn't really talk about yet, but it's not one of our big selling points. But essentially, we want to make sure too is that people that are coming to our community, or we're trying to simulate the in real life educational process as best as we can. So, something very interesting that actually the person in the audience, Tom, built for us is like a bot that places you in a certain house when you come into our server. And that house is kind of like what would be kind of considered like what you could say like a fraternity would be in
yeah.
college, where it's like those are your members that are part of your house, and we will be running contests essentially between like houses that publish stuff, houses that want to compete against each other, or whatever it may be, and to kind of curate that engagement behavior where it's like oh, I want to do that. I want to make sure this NFT and community are growing stronger and stronger, and plus I'm rewarded for that now because if my house wins this month for the most content produced or whatever it may be, we're planning on releasing prizes. So like the first prize we're planning on doing is like 1,000 ADA. And like that house will be able to decide like what they want to do with that ADA, whether it's give it to the people that participated the most or whatever it may be, but kind of curating that also that fun competitive nature that you do get when you go to like a college or a school of any nature.
That's cool. Are you planning to have any in-person events or anything to go with this? So people have a chance to like link up and
Not yet, but it's something we've thought about. Because we would definitely like that in real life aspect, especially for what we're doing. But we haven't really decided how we want to go about that yet, and even if we're going to go about that. But to me, it's a great idea to do something like that. We just haven't really dived deep into it yet.
yeah. I mean, we have something in the UK called Open University, and it's basically it's it's an accredited university, but all the learning is done from home. They do, like the videos and the course materials online and everything. But they have like I think it's like one day every couple of months or every 3 months where you get to go and talk to your lecturer and stuff like that. Will there be much options for course providers to provide like seminars to people and stuff as well to support their course?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And that's kind of another aspect to the virtual speaker stage is it doesn't have to necessarily be like the biggest event like oh we got Charles. It's yeah, we're definitely going to do that to provide value, but if any member wants to sign up and become a speaker and they can say, "Oh, if you're having problem on this lecture or on this part of my course, I'm going to be doing a speaker event on it where you guys can sit and ask me questions and I'll be going over it." So yeah, like the virtual stage will be used for stuff like that as well.
Yeah. So I mean, are you going to be able to have multiple stages running simultaneously?
Um, I don't believe we will be able to, but it will be able to be run whenever anybody wants them to be run. So I think you'd need a book this stage.
Yeah.
But that's something that my dev would need to answer. I'm not exactly sure, but I would assume no. I think we can only run one event at a time.
Okay, that's well. Hopefully, that's something that can be solved with scale when it comes.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, if it's so much so that everybody's always trying to do it, I think we would absolutely have to find a solution to that. But as of right now, I think it's one at a time. And don't quote me on that because I also could be wrong. I actually haven't double checked with them before saying so. But I'm under the impression that if we have so many people wanting to do it all the time, that we'll figure out a solution to make sure that can happen.
So, I mean, obviously, you're going to have the royalties from the orangutans, but do you have any plans for revenue outside of that to keep everything going?
As of right now, no. Um, no, we don't.
Cool. I mean, like, it's a
I'm
question.
sure I'm sure
I
there
got a
is.
surprisingly blunt answer, which is quite nice.
I'm sure there is something that like over time if we thought of it and we wanted to implement it, we probably could if we're successful in what we're trying to achieve. But as of right now, it's kind of focused on just making sure that if you're part of the community, you're making money and you're getting value added to your life before we add more value essentially to ours through any other income stream. Because I mean, obviously the hopes of what we're doing is I like how I just changed my blunt answer into a long one again. But hopefully it's just, adds value to the NFT. Everybody sees the NFT as something that's valuable and if someone else wants to buy it from somebody, somebody else wants to sell it and we just continue kind of collecting those royalties if we're doing a good job there.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things because if somebody buys an orangutan for to do some courses, that's not one that's going to be resold for a while.
Right. Yep.
Especially if they're looking to do one of the more long and complicated courses.
Right.
Say
Yeah.
if I actually went and learned orbital mechanics, like I'm going to be holding that for a year, and that's not going to be creating any royalties.
Right. And the interesting thing about what I said earlier though was at least like if we're doing such a great job at what we do and we do a airdrop of 100,000 or people that just want to learn or whatever that may be, all of those NFTs can obviously be placed on royalties as
Yeah,
well. So I'm not too concerned about figuring out another revenue stream. I'm sure if we needed it, we could figure it out. Because obviously, if we're doing so well that we need more revenue to come in, I'm sure we'll think of something. I think the airdrop would probably be the best way possible, though. Send the airdrop to everybody that holds an OG. Give up 10 to each one, 15 to each one. Say pass it to your friends if you want
yeah.
to learn. And then if they're trading at 5, 10, $20, whatever it may be, um, just that extra royalties, I think would be a lot in itself.
Yeah, and the royalties doesn't have to be 5% on those either. It could be like 30%, for instance.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I've been keeping an eye out on chat, but I think we're doing quite well in getting through most of the big questions so far. If anyone's got any questions, feel free to stick them in chat, or if you promise to keep things fairly civil, we can stick you on voice as well. Give people a minute, see if anyone starts typing or putting their hands up. But yeah, I mean, was there any other things that you guys wanted to touch on that I've managed to avoid so far?
Oh boy. I don't think so. I mean, honestly, like I really appreciate like the questions that you gave because they're very in depth, and like definitely thought through. I love the first one though. I gotta say, like, describe your project in 10 seconds. Like that
Yeah,
one was really, really funny because it's just like everything we were trying to like we're trying to do is like so hard to put down in 10 seconds.
I don't know. I don't know if you guys have seen Wolf of Wall Street, but that reminded me of the scene where Leonardo DiCaprio says, "Sell me this pen." That's
Yeah.
that
Well,
reminds me.
this is if you can't grab somebody's attention within, I mean, 10 seconds is generous, but usually within 2 or 3 seconds. But let's say 10 seconds. If you can't grab them in that time, then they're gone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, very true.
Like it sucks, but we need a reason to hold our attention somewhere these days. And
Absolutely. Yeah, completely
yeah,
understandable. Great
but
question to start off with. It really set the precedence.
so what were your guys' first NFTs you ever minted then?
Crypto kitties. Um, Back
Yeah,
in 2018. I'm really sad about it. I hold two Gen 1s that are worth nothing. And meanwhile, like CryptoPunks came out afterwards and are worth tons of money. But the way that the Dapper Labs set up like the breeding system is just like they're just more and more and more and more. Like every so often I'll check OpenSea to see if they somehow managed to do anything, but no, unfortunately, still worth nothing.
So what about you, Mike?
mine was Art Monkeys, actually. One of the Shartoshi's profile picture.
Oh, okay, they're cool.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah,
That's about it.
see if I can find a way. I'd like to put his. Can you? Actually, if I do that, can I copy? No, it's not going to let me copy picture. I'm trying to find a way to put it onto the YouTube video for people to see. It's going to be awkward without exposing personal information. So, but yeah. So yeah, I mean that's what like. How do you? I mean, obviously you guys are fairly like in depth and have been around quite some time. Like, how long do you see current market flunk lasting, and how do you
Uh,
expect people's attitudes towards crypto to change as a result?
so this is my opinion on it. Obviously, everyone. It's not like anyone has a crystal ball here, but
Yeah,
but I
this
like how
yeah for anyone's information, this is very clearly not financial advice. It's very much an
I.
opinion, and you should take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Um, so normally what we've seen, I think, throughout history is when markets kind of crash a little bit, you see the volatile markets go before the stable ones. And I think crypto has taken a pretty big hit. And then the stock market followed suit. And I believe the real estate market will follow suit pretty soon as well. But with that being said, I think we're going to see a bounce back from crypto first. I just don't know when that may be. It really depends, I think, on a lot of geopolitical tension. I think it depends a lot about, I don't know how true it is, but I've been reading a lot about how people are starting to plan for food shortages. Obviously, people are going to make sure that their basic necessities are taken care of before anything else. So, depending on how affected the average or the normal person is, I think will depend upon how long the crypto market kind of stays in a rut. But with that being said, my personal take is once I think things kind of clear up, whether that's 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, I don't really like putting time frames on things because you
Yeah,
can never really
yeah,
predict.
like time frames are best avoided, I think.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think crypto will be seen as a very, very strong asset afterwards. And I think there will be a lot more trust in it, especially depending on how many countries I think continue the inflation rate that has been kind of brutalizing people over the past year or 2 years. People are gonna like looking to park their money in other places. And I think if people are looking at stocks and they're not really sure what to invest anymore, people are see the real estate kind of collapse a little bit again. I think if they start seeing crypto pick up, it might be something that they obviously not invest tons of money in, but I think even the average person will at least put some money in. And I think if we have that type of liquidity entering the market where the average person is starting to participate, we'll see a pretty nice bull run.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
was also going to say, like a lot of people I know and people on the internet and on Twitter and everything, they always everyone's like, oh, NFTs are stupid, crypto's stupid, and if we do, like Dante was saying, get through this kind of flunk, and crypto does prevail, I feel like there will be a lot more confidence in it, and I think that people will, start investing in it more. So
Yeah,
we're looking
just
forward.
just to kind of go off that a little bit too, it's like every year that Bitcoin doesn't fail is another year that Bitcoin becomes stronger.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so I think every time if we're in a market like slump right now, and 2, 3 years later down the road when people have been working, doing things, making money, and they think it's a good time to invest. And, the thing that they thought was stupid 2 years ago, they actually start taking a little bit more time to research and they go, oh, this makes a little bit more sense to me now. And they have that confidence of, well, I didn't invest in crypto because I only knew about it for a year versus, well, I wasn't confident in it the first year, but, it's still here 3 years later. So maybe I should put some money into it. I think will start to be like more of a common occurrence.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's very much still a generational divide where, the older generations tend to have much more to invest, whereas the younger generation, which is a lot more crypto friendly, haven't don't have access to those funds that the older generations have. So, I mean, I do think that it could take a lot longer than we think. It could take 20 years, but I think we'll get there.
I agree. I think mass adoption is probably still a decade or two away. But I do believe that, sometimes like all it takes is like 3, 4 years from now, like you can go to McDonald's or something and pay with your Bitcoin or something like that, where it's like it's in front of the average person every day, and not just something that they see online or on the news anymore, where they start probably taking it more seriously and you start to hit the middle of the bell curve. Because I'm still super strongly under the belief. I mean, I think if you look at any of the numbers, you'd see we're still very far on the left side of the bell curve. But it could be pretty soon. I think not soon, but I think we're not too far away from starting to reach into the middle of the bell curve. I think it takes like a pretty strong catalyst, like maybe people start buying houses or cars or something with it, and go to the dealership and they accept it. Like we already know Tesla was accepting Bitcoin payments and Doge payments, so I think that once businesses start allowing people to spend crypto instead of dollars, and as much people know as like if the inflation rate stays kind of where it is right now, people are going to really be nervous about continuing to like stock up on cash, and no one knows really where to park their money right now. So we might see what happens in the next few years, but I think yeah, general adoption I think is still a decade or two away before we're just in a completely crypto society.
Yeah,
Yeah,
even this year during the Super Bowl, I know it's kind of sounds off topic, but when I was watching the commercials, everyone gets excited for all the funny commercials. But this past Super Bowl, it was the first time in my life I felt like I was living in the future. The amount of electric cars, the amount of cryptocurrency commercials, just like all this stuff that like you would not have even thought of, just right in front of us. It was like the year before was nothing related to that, and then this year it was all just electric cars and cryptocurrency. It was super mind-boggling to watch how
Yeah,
the world changed in one year. Like, so that I mean, maybe it's not that far away. Maybe it's. I mean,
yeah.
realistically, it is, but maybe not. Like, you never know. It could just change.
I think also just like the way that I think crypto will kind of help third world countries leapfrog the the current like banking and credit card system that we have running in first world countries.
Mhm.
I think might be really, really beneficial to the whole general mass adoption as well.
yeah. I mean, like for me personally, I kind of see it. I see a lot of comparisons with the rollout of the internet, and a
Hmm.
lot of the same language is being used about how it's going to launch the third world and give them access to all the technology that they don't have access to now and everything like that. But it's the sort of thing. Yes, it's happening, but it's happening very slowly.
Right.
It's not like 98% of Africa has internet access. Though again, that's now changing with Skynet, or
Yep.
Elon Musk's thing, whatever he's. The name
Yep.
slips my mind, but Skynet works. So and again, the speed in the development of the internet itself was really quite slow, but then it snowballed and snowballed and snowballed.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
literally 1 year we're looking at Squarespace, as in the old Squarespace with all the little logos and stuff like that that were going for £1 million, and then 3 years later I was playing EverQuest.
No, very very interesting too, and and you'll see it in kind of a lot of startup spaces where it's just like I think crypto. I don't think any. Not, I wouldn't say any more, but I would say like probably when we were ending 2021 was almost kind of in this dot-com bubble-ish, and I think we're still in this dot-com bubble-ish where a lot of like scammers, a lot of crap is being produced. But that's also the same time where you get your Amazons and your
Yeah,
Googles being built, is in that same time frame. And that's going to be shown in the next few years.
cool. So yeah, I mean, if there's no other questions or anything like that, I think we've reached a fairly good time to wrap it up. So give everyone a last chance to stick their hand up, or to type in NFT chat. But yeah, apparently we've done quite a good job.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate like being here and you having us up here and asking the questions you asked because they're definitely thought out and great questions. So, thank you. Thank you everybody in the audience as well. Hope to see you over at the Orangutans Academy. If not, like, still thank you just for listening. We're really looking to make our dent in the space, and yeah, yeah. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you guys, both Mike and Tadashi, for turning up and enlightening us. It's been a pleasure having you all here, and very big thank you to the audience. You've done sterling work with the questions, and sitting there listening to us harp on about a great project. And yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you all soon. We have AMAs run here regularly, and we have an extra special one on Monday night that you're not going to want to miss. But yeah, thank you everyone, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Toulson. Thanks, guys. Have a great one.